Picture this. You're driving down an endless, pitch-black stretch of the Nevada desert. It's the middle of the night. There are absolutely no towns, no streetlights, just the dark silhouettes of mountains and this unbearable, suffocating silence. It's just you and an empty road. Welcome, everyone. In today's Explainer, we are diving into one of the most chilling, unexplained phenomena ever documented in this area. This isn't your typical someone got lost story. Oh no, we're breaking down a literal nightmare that defies all logic. So let's step into the dark and see what's really hiding behind this signal from Highway 95. Now, we aren't just talking about a random spot on the map. We're talking about mile marker 214. Truckers and state troopers know this zone all too well, even if they absolutely hate talking about it. Because this is the exact spot where compasses just inexplicably start spinning, navigation systems completely fail, and most terrifyingly, people just vanish without a single trace. No footprints, no banded gear, literally nothing. All right, setting the stage with our first section, the legend of Highway 95 and the rules of the desert. Let's dig right into the local lore. If you look at the official reports, they're full of these bizarre, unexplainable events. Sure, authorities try to write them off as heat stroke or fatigue or just terrible luck, but cars are breaking down for literally no reason. Compasses are stopping dead. Drivers step out of their vehicles and just evaporate. But the local old-timers, the folks who have lived out there their entire lives, they laugh at those rational explanations because they know that after midnight, this desert plays by its own set of deeply disturbing rules. And among the locals, there is one golden, unbreakable rule, and it goes like this. If you hear music coming from the desert at night, you must never follow it. Honestly, it's not a suggestion. It is a strict condition for your survival. Let's look at a specific case in our next section. Radio in the Desert, August 1978. Meet 28-year-old Arthur Bishop, a former Air Force radar tech who was making a fateful overnight drive. Okay, so it's 1:32 a.m. Arthur is driving from Vegas to Tonopah. The isolation is intense. The summer heat is just brutal, even in the middle of the night. Suddenly, the static on his radio, which absolutely shouldn't be picking up a single station in this dead zone, fades out. And in its place, soft, cheerful, old-fashioned jazz starts playing. Right off the bat, as a radar tech, Arthur knows a signal out here is physically impossible. Then, the music just cuts out, and this incredibly calm, friendly woman's voice, sounding almost like a late-night radio host, whispers through the speakers. Exit at marker 214. Now, Arthur completely panicked. And I mean, wouldn't you? His instincts kicked in, and he immediately lunged for the dashboard and slammed the radio off, just desperately trying to get the silence back. But here is where the story takes a massive, terrifying turn. Exactly 10 seconds later, the radio clicks itself back on, and that same voice says, "Arthur, you missed the turn." Let that sink in for a second. He was alone. He had never spoken his name out loud. This wasn't some random broadcast. It knew exactly who he was. Moving on to the next section, Starlight Motor Inn, The Illusion. Driven by this strange, terrifying impulse, Arthur actually pulls off the highway into this glowing silver fog. And right there in the middle of nowhere, he sees a roadside motel. It looks completely frozen in time, surrounded by these pristine old Cadillacs and bathed in this super inviting warm yellow light, the Starlight Motor Inn. But here's the catch. Arthur had driven this exact route dozens of times. He knew for an absolute fact that this motel had never, ever existed. He walks into the lobby and he's greeted by a young woman in a silver dress. Her appearance is unsettlingly perfect, kind of like someone tried to sculpt a human but got the proportions just slightly wrong. And her very first words to him, "We've been waiting for you." Let's step into the dining area in our next section. Guests from the past, time stands still. The psychological tension here just skyrockets. Arthur surveys the room, and every single detail screams danger. The lobby clocks are completely frozen at 1:32 a.m. The older couples sitting around, they are staring straight ahead, not blinking, not even once. And then his heart just stops. Sitting by the jukebox is his brother, Daniel. But Daniel had died in Vietnam 9 years earlier. Time in this place hadn't just stopped, it was a weapon. His brother slowly looks up at him and says, "You left me there." It is absolutely heartbreaking, and it's incredibly cruel. The entity, that woman in the silver dress, was literally using Arthur's deepest guilts to try and trap him there voluntarily. Then, the lights start to flicker. Loud jazz completely floods the room, and for a split second, the illusion drops. Arthur sees the guests' true faces, sunken, rotting skin, pitch black eyes, and mouths stretched open impossibly wide. Pure nightmare fuel. Arthur doesn't wait around. He turns and sprints for the door. Which brings us to escape from the unknown. The desert changes. He bursts out the door, expecting the highway, but the parking lot doesn't connect to the road anymore. He jumps in his car and floors it into the pitch black sand, completely blind. And what he sees out there is insane. Hundreds of motionless, shadowy people just watching him from the dark. Old, rusty payphones ringing in the middle of a completely empty desert. Half-buried cars arranged like a giant compass, all pointing right back at marker 214. And the worst part? He can feel something absolutely massive moving just beneath the sand, right behind his car. Somehow, miraculously, he breaks through to the real highway just as the sun comes up, and a state trooper pulls him over. Arthur thinks he's just spent a few terrifying hours fighting for his life in the dark. The clock on his dash still says 1:32, but the stunned trooper tells him the reality. Arthur Bishop had been missing for 6 whole days. 6 days, totally wiped off the map. And listen, Arthur surviving, that was a total anomaly, because the trap never stopped working. Decades later, an abandoned police cruiser was found right near marker 214. The engine was still idling. And when they checked the dashcam audio recording, it just captured the sound of soft jazz and a woman whispering, "Room ready for one more guest." Now we get to the final section, the unexpected finale 46 years later. This is where the story really gets under your skin. Arthur kept quiet for nearly half a century, obsessively unplugging every radio in his house at sundown. Finally, in 2024, at 74 years old, he went into a radio studio to tell his story. When asked what he thought that motel really was, Arthur left the listeners with this haunting thought. "I think some places in the desert aren't on maps because they aren't meant to stay in our world." It's poetic, right? It feels like closure. It lulls you into a false sense of security. But actually, scratch that. That is not how this story ends. Because according to the studio technician working that day, the second the 74-year-old Arthur left that building, soft, old-fashioned jazz suddenly played through every single disconnected speaker in the studio. It didn't stay in Nevada in 1978. It heard him, it followed him.